Why is the Trump-led American administration and its relationship with China causing you so much concern?
Well, first of all, it's not simply the Trump-led administration, it's all the administrations, but particularly the Obama administration. Obama in 2011 announced what he called a pivot to Asia, and that meant the transfer of 2/3 of all US air and sea forces into the Asia-Pacific, the biggest build-up of US military forces since the Second World War. And what you have now, largely thanks to Obama, not to Trump, Obama, 400 military bases, US military bases, missile warships and bombers surrounding, encircling China. Now, Trump arrives and starts to talk to China really in terms of the possibility of a trade war, because you saw in that clip, he was saying the most extraordinary things. He's saying they've been raping us, they've been stealing our jobs, the greatest heist in history.
Is that not largely true, though? I mean, America,
no.
25% of American debt now owned by the Chinese?
Yeah.
Chinese, when you have American imports going or exports going into China, they have big tax tariffs. It doesn't work the other way. A lot of jobs from American companies like Apple have all been outsourced to China. Does Trump not have a point?
But that's a system the United States invented.
Sure.
That's invented. Now they're crying foul.
The Chinese are outplaying them, yeah.
Now they're crying foul. They're outplaying them.
Yeah.
In fact, Apple, as you say, the world's biggest company, they said, we'll go to southern China, as it did about 20 years ago, where we can make things cheaply. You know, I mean, the real rate, there's no morality play here. They're all in it together. The Chinese have accepted it and have been very clever. They're very good business people. And their whole business empire and their attitude to their own development and the world, in many ways, is much more progressive in terms of keeping the world at peace.
So you say President Obama's put the military infrastructure there. Donald Trump is sort of inflaming the rhetoric about a trade war. I mean, how seriously should we take your warning that actually this could lead to danger? Now,
Trump can be the clever clogs and be tweeting and trying to put the Chinese on the back foot. He can be doing that, and we can perhaps see his tactic as he comes up to January the 20th when he's inaugurated. But, you know, this is a great landscape of potential mistakes and accidents. You have, no one really realizes the kind of the armaments that are now surrounding China. And you have in the Pentagon, and this is, if Trump is not going to have a war with China, he has to control his own people, because you have in the Pentagon a very, very aggressive culture.
All right, but two things I would say about this. One is that the Chinese are kind of the economic imperialists. They haven't really been going around invading countries, right? We would accept that. Secondly, Trump is a pragmatic businessman at his heart. He knows that wars cost trillions of dollars.
We shall see.
But
we shall see if he's a pragmatic businessman.
I would, knowing him well, I would categorise him as somebody that would look at war as a loss leader. It costs trillions of dollars, and he can't then deliver on his economic promises, which is the key, I think, to what his administration will be about. So you don't really have two people, in terms of the Chinese and America, that have any real incentive to have a war. Why are you worried they might?
Well, I'm not worried. The facts are there. I mean, the United States has built a war situation
under Obama.
Well, it's under all presidents. It began in 1945.
But if you say war footing,
you know,
I would say
the most.
Can it not be a protective military defence mechanism too, rather than an aggressive
protective against
war?
What? It's in the South China Sea.
It's
their sphere.
Well, against the fact that China, in the last 10 years, has massively increased spending on its military. However, America still has 5 times the size of the military, still has 5 times the spending. You know, if there was a war, America would win a military war.
Well,
right?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily at all. The Chinese have put there, as a result of this, I mean, you talk about the potential dangers where it really goes beyond whether Trump is a pragmatist or not. As a result of this pressure on them, the Chinese have put their nuclear weapons on high alert for the first time.
That's not something we want to hear.
And there is, as a panel in the United States warned us last year, there is a 12-minute window when people make the decisions. You know, we're sitting here, but
well, John,
we've forgotten.
unfortunately, you've exceeded your 7-minute window.
Have I? Oh, no.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid we have to wait for nuclear war next. So it's a fascinating programme. John Pilger, The Coming War on China. It airs tonight, 10:40 p.m. on ITV. What a great pleasure to have you.
Good pleasure to see you.
Good to see you, John. All the best.
You too, sir.